Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Today we're going to be using the February 2022 card kit. It's a little bit magic by Love from Lizi. And my first card is a 10 by 7 card scored at 5, and that will give us a 5 by 7 card base. Onto that I want to put a spinner mechanism. For that, we got some of these ephemera pieces in the kit, and some of them are doubled up, so they're a mirror image. So Lizi recommended these would be great for making a spinner card, and that's what I'm going to do with this really cute little unicorn. I'm going to cut it across the bottom so I can have the thread coming out at the top and bottom of our unicorn. This is the thread that we got in the kit. It's a very clear, it's so fine and delicate, but it's really strong. And I'm also going to use some dies that I purchased and put in the kit. When you're a kit member, you can put add-ons into your kit and it costs you no extra for shipping. So I have the shadow and the word die itself here, and I have them with happy birthday on a lovely shiny silver card. It's holographic. So these are the dies. They come on the Love from Lizi backing that you can see there, and I add the magnetic strip to it. This is going to be the frame for our opening that our little unicorn will spin around in. It'll go on the front, and we'll cut the opening out onto the front part of our card base. So that way then, once we have our thread on our unicorn, we'll stick that down behind the frame, and that'll be able to spin around. The dies that I used for this frame are from the August 2021 Love from Lizi card kit, and you can find links to everything that I'll be using down below. I'm also going to use a straight circle edged die for the inner part, and I use these moonstone ones. They're a nested set, and I find that it gives me a nice shaped frame with a nice depth to the frame as well. So I put the two together, I die cut that out. Now what I want to do is take my inner straight die rather than the scalloped edged one. I'm going to pop that out of here, and then I'll die cut out the opening on the card base. Make sure when you die cut out your opening that you open the card base, because you only want the opening on the front of the card base, not at the back as well. So I'll sit the die down there like so, and I'll add some tape to it and run it through my die cutting machine. I've die cut it out now, and you can see it comes out lovely. I use my Sizzix Big Shot Plus to die cut this oval out, or circle I should say. Okay, so now the next thing that we want to do is we want to organize our little unicorn and put the string on him. When I put string on an ephemera piece or a stamped piece for a spinner card, what I like to do is use a strong tape for that. So I will use a red liner tape, and it's really strong, and I know then that the string won't go anywhere. So I'm going to tie a knot on one end, just so that when I do stick that down, it helps to keep the string in place. I'm also going to make sure that I get the string stuck down in the middle of the unicorn, because we want it balanced. That's another thing you need to look out for when you're doing a spinner card. So I'm using my double-sided red liner tape, and once I've that down, I like to add a bit of pressure onto that to make sure it sticks well, and then I'll remove the release tape from the top and then add my little string through it. Now I know you can't see it because it's a clear string, but it's there. So around the unicorn then, around the edge of the unicorn, I've used some liquid glue, and that's just to make sure that the whole thing is stuck together. There you can see my string is out the top and out the bottom, and I've allowed a generous amount because I'll cut away any excess then when I'm finished. Lovely. Okay, so I'm going to use some thin double-sided tape on my circle frame. I have a piece at the top and a piece at the bottom. I'm also going to add some to the card base around the same area, and that way my string will be sandwiched between those two. Once I've that done, then I can take off the release paper. I want to make sure that the string is taut. In other words, that it's pulled tightly. That way then it will spin so much better. Perfect. So I'm happy with that now. I'm going to add a little piece of double-sided tape over the top of the string at the top, cut off the excess at the top and the bottom, and then I can add my frame to that. So I'll take the release paper off the double-sided tape that I have on the frame. I'm going to add some liquid glue to that, and this will allow me then to make sure that my frame is nicely in place on the front of the card. And I'm delighted with that. Once we twist it and close it, then when you open it, it spins around. Isn't that fabulous? So you would prep your card base, twisting the unicorn around, and then put it into your envelope. That way when the recipient pulls out the card and opens the card, the unicorn will spin. So I'm adding my happy birthday now at the top and bottom of the frame. To that then, to embellish the front of the card, I'll use some of the sequins that we got in the kit. I'll use the blue sequins, very close in colour to the blue cardstock that I used for my frame, and that came in the kit as well. Once I've that done, then I'll add a little heart sequins to the frame. I'll add 2 to the frame and 1 just beside the happy. Now I really like this card the way it looked, but I kind of felt it was a bit bland. So I thought, you know what, there's some lovely pattern paper in the kit in a navy color with suns and clouds and unicorns and rainbows. So I decided for a finish what I was going to do was I'm going to add some mats and layers. So once I've finished sticking down my little hearts, I'm going to then add those to it. So I'm twisting my unicorn again to have a look. So you'll need 2 yellow pieces, and they measure 4.5 by 6.5. One will go inside and one on the back. I have a piece of pattern paper measuring 4 by 6, and then I have this white piece measuring 4.25 by 6.25. This will go onto the back of the card. That gives us somewhere to write our message. So I'm going to stick this panel down on the inside, and I think it really makes the unicorn pop with that added in there. And then I'll add on this piece to the back. Now I had a scrap piece of the pattern paper left over, so I just stuck that along the side there, just to tie in the front and the back of the card. So let's give that a spin now and see how it looks. Whee! I love it. I think it's so cute. And I love the pattern papers as well. So there we go, that's card number 1. And now we're moving on to card 2. Card 2 is a dome card, and I have a card base measuring 5 by 7. I have this pink piece and it's 5.5 by 6.75. I've scored it at 1/2 and at 5, and I'm going to die cut an opening into that. I have a piece of pattern paper measuring 4.75 by 6.75, and then I have some acetate. This also came in the kit. I've cut it to 4.5 by 6.5, and I've added some double-sided tape around the perimeter of this. So this will be on the pink card, and it will be like our window into the inside. I have some ephemera pieces, and this banner piece I'm going to use as my sentiment for the front. I have an oval die here as well. And this one I have from the Creative Nestables, and I've used this, it's the 10th die from the outside to cut my opening into my pink cardstock. So I want to line this up between my 2 score lines. I want to give enough room at the top and the bottom as well for my sentiment and my banner, but I want to make sure that my opening is between the score lines. Because it went through my die cutting machine, the score lines kind of flatten out a little bit, so I just re-scored those, and then I burnished those score lines. So that'll sit on the front of our card like so. We'll take our pattern paper now and we'll glue that down to the front of our card. And you can see there, this pattern paper is from one of the large cut aparts that we got. but I loved the pattern paper. I thought it was really cool. I love to do those word searches. Do you? So now I'm adhering down my acetate to the inside of this pink piece of cardstock, and then I'll burnish that tape so it's adhered really nicely. Once I've that done, then I'm adding some double-sided tape. This is a 1/2 inch width double-sided tape to each side, and then I'll be able to take off the release paper and stick that down. So what I want to do is I want to add my ephemera in, and my ephemera has got some foam tape behind it, and I'm using the opening to guide me into my positioning for that. I'll take off the release paper and stick down one side and then the other side, and you can see here it'll give us then a dome shape to the front of our card. So you'll need a box envelope for this, or a bouncy envelope to put this into. I'm going to put the banner across the top, and I'll have it at a jaunty angle, just like so. Love that. And you can see there I've stuck down the sentiment, and I took the star ephemera piece and put that with it. Now where we have our dome piece stuck down on the right and left, I'm going to embellish that using some straight edged glitter peel-offs that I have in my stash. You can find these on the Love From Lizi website. She has such an amazing amount of peel-offs. These came in the add-on packs this month that you could also purchase and put in with your kit. So once I have 2 strips down each side, I'm then going to embellish the card using these clear round dots, and they're beautiful. They have a holographic sparkle in them, and they really match the pink peel-offs that I used on the side. So I'll put a couple of those randomly around the front, and I'll make sure I put an odd number because odd is more pleasing to the eye. It stands up perfectly, no problem, and I'm delighted with that. I put a strip of the offcut paper in the inside. I stamped Make a Wish, and I used one of the stamps that comes, it's like a random sprinkling of stars and dots, and I have that inside as well. And now we're moving on to card number 3, and this is a 6x6 card base, so you'll need a piece 12x6 and score it then on the long side at 6. I have 2 pieces of white cardstock. One is for inside and one is for outside, and they're 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. And then I have this pattern piece of paper. This measures 5 1/2 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to embellish that with some peel-offs as well. Inside the card I want to put some ephemera, and I want it to pop up on these panels. Now I have 3 here, but I'll only put 2 in for a finish. These measure 11 1/4 by 3, and I've scored it at 1/4, 3/4, 5 3/4 and 6 1/4. And then this second one, it measures 11 1/4 by 2 1/2, and I've scored it again at 1/4, 3/4, 5 3/4 and 6 1/4. So disregard this one here, we're not going to be using it. The 2 panels I felt was enough inside our card. So as I'm making the card, I decide not to use that. But this is how we fold over. They're all more mountain folds that we're going to be having. And that little 1/4 inch tab is going to join this piece. So we have this rectangular piece, and these two of these will go in the inside, and when we close our card, it'll sit flat. For this piece, I have 3 pieces of card. Now you only see 2 here. They're measures 4 3/4 by 2, 4 3/4 by 1 3/4, and 4 1/2 by 1 1/2. This strip, it measures, in the white, measures 3/4 of an inch by 5 3/4, and the pattern paper is 1/2 inch by 5 1/2. Phew, okay, so I have some ephemera here, you can see them, and I have a 1/4 inch piece of acetate, and I've just cut these at random lengths because they are going to sit into our little rectangular boxes, and they're going to allow our pieces to pop up. So I have the dinosaur, the little cheetah, the rainbow, the butterfly, and I've die cut out this For You sentiment from the dies that I also added into my kit. So now let's go ahead and assemble all our pieces. So I have my pattern pieces put on the front and my white piece there on the inside. I have my two boxes joined together and glued together, and I've added on my patterned paper and my mats and layers to the front. Now I'm going to add some glue to the back of this piece, and it's on the largest piece at the back. This then will glue down to our card, to the card base on the right. And I'm using some of my Cosmic Shimmer liquid glue to glue this down. So I'm going to glue that down, making sure it's lined up with the bottom of the card and with the score line. And you can see there I'm pressing it flat. Those two little boxes are pressed flat and our card will close. Once that's done, then I'm going to add some liquid glue to the sides of our two boxes there, and I've zoomed in so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm just adding the glue there to the two sides of the taller and then the smaller box, and you can see there as well that these are lying flat, and then I'm going to close over my card. Now I'm going to allow that some time to dry and set before I go opening my card, and in order to do that I'm going to add some of these lovely yellow clear they're like sparkly straight edged peel offs, and I've done that all around the four sides of our pattern paper. I've taken another one of these mirror image ephemera pieces and I've cut them in half because I want to separate them onto the card. I've put some foam tape behind them, and that will embellish the front of our card. I'm going to add my strip now to the inside, and you can see there are two rectangular boxes. They actually lift up and they give depth and dimension to the front of our card. So now it's a matter of deciding where I want my ephemera pieces, and you can use either double-sided tape or liquid glue to glue the acetate to the inside of these boxes. And again, I've zoomed in so you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So the acetate is hidden behind each layer, and that then will allow them to stand up, and it looks really cool. I'm looking at the card here and I just love it. I think it's one of my favorites, to be honest. That and the book easel card that we're going to get do ahead there. But you can see there I've used the cloud die that came in the kit, and I have put two of them in the back, and I've stuck the butterfly onto the back as well. So it closes really nicely. The bulk is to the bottom. There's a couple of layers there of the card, but it'll still fit in a regular envelope. I love this. So now we're moving on to card number 4, and again I have a 5x7 card base. It measures 10 by 7 and I scored it at 5. Onto this then we're going to add this pink panel. This piece measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and it'll sit on there like so. I have stamped this little panel using the stamp that came in the kit. You can see it here in the stamp set. I've used that one, and I have stamped it in all different colors that I had in my stash, different colored inks, and they're really lovely. I love all these different colors. It's a really fun image and stamp to use, and it picks up the colors that's in our ephemera that we're going to use. So I have one of the cut parts here with hooray on it. I'm going to use that. I have die cut out happy birthday using my new dies, and I've also got some of the string and this lovely little pussycat with a donut ring around its waist and the cloud with the colorful raindrops. The string was in the kit and it's got a rainbow of color going through it, and I'm going to wrap that around our panel 2 times. Okay, so let's assemble everything now. I'm going to stick down my stamped panel to my pink panel. And once I have that done, then I'm going to add my string. And I'll use a bit of sellotape or sticky tape just to stick down the edges of that. So I've wrapped it around twice. I'll stick that down as well and then cut off the excess. Now onto that panel I want to use some foam tape. This is a thin foam tape that I'm using, and it just allows for the bulk of the string at the back, and it'll raise this panel up then off our card base. So it gives it a little dimension to the card. Lovely. So I'm now looking at how I'm going to arrange my ephemera pieces on there, and after a lot of faffing around I decide I'm going to put my little cat more to the left here than the right. I'll have my little cloud up above, and I'm going to have the hooray coming out from behind our little cat. I've put some foam tape there at the top and the bottom of our cat as well. That way it can bridge over our string at the front. I put a little bit too much on. I need it to be less down at the bottom, so I moved it up a bit. I'll take the release paper off and then I can stick that down. Lovely. Now I'm going to cut off the excess on our hooray banner there. And again, I've decided I'm going to put that so it's like as if the cat is saying hooray with its arms wide. It's like a speech bubble. And I've just curled up the tails of that banner as well. I'll glue down my little cloud, and then to embellish the front of that card, I'm going to use some of the little peel off circles that we got. Inside I have my happy birthday sentiment. I've decided where I want to put that, and then I'm going to stamp down the Make-A-Wish. Now I'm using the yellow ink around the top of the stamp and this pink ink around the bottom of the stamp, so it gives an ombre look, kind of going with our panel that we stamped for the outside. I've taken a pink marker then, and I'm just going to kind of blend where the two meet using the marker. And I love this, it's so cool. Perfect. Now I'm just going to stick down my happy birthday sentiment inside. And again, I'm going to use my Cosmic Shimmer glue to stick these down. So there's room above them to write to Tom or to Michael or to whoever, and then your from below that. So these are the peel-offs that we got in our kit. They're these lovely circles, and I've used them on our cloud's cheeks, our cat's cheeks, as well as on the raindrops and some of the little stars on the front of that card. For card 5, I have a scalloped edged ready-made 6x6 card blank. I'm going to fold it in half, and that'll give us our 6x6 card base. Now because of the scalloped edge, I need to make my mats and layers smaller than I would do if this was a standard 6x6 card base. I loved the sun ephemera, and I wanted this to be part of the shaker card that we're going to make. So again, I die cut out another frame using the 2 dies I used earlier, and I've got this pink pattern paper that measures 5.5 by 5.5. It's going to get stuck down onto our card base, and this piece I'm going to die cut out my opening from. I'll add foam tape to the back of this. Well, I'll actually add it to the acetate, because that way I can just die cut out my opening on this pattern paper. I'll then stick my frame over it, my acetate will be stuck behind it, and that will give us our shaker card. And I love a shaker card. I have some acetate cut. This is cut to 5 inches by 5 inches. I have double-sided tape going around one side, and then on the other side I have put 2 layers of foam tape. So that way, when I stick this down, I can stick down my acetate like so, then I can put my pattern paper on top, and then my frame on top of that. I've also got here some pattern paper that I cut off the panel, and I've got some of the happy birthday stickers and a little bumblebee. So now I'm taking the release double-sided tape off of my acetate and I've stuck that down to the front of our pattern paper. Then I'm going to add on my little frame there. So just tidies up the opening there. And I'll use the liquid glue for that. And once I have that stuck down, then we can stick down our sun. Lovely. I see there's a bit of some glitter on my acetate, so I made sure to clean off my acetate before I go at finishing up on the card. So I'm going to glue down my panel, then I'm going to take my little sun and I'm going to hold that to the acetate so it's centered on the acetate. I'll add some liquid glue to that, then I'll put my panel in place and then press down my sun, and that way then I can more or less line that up where I want it. So my panel isn't stuck down, you can see there, I'm just sticking down my sun. Make sure you allow the glue on your sun to dry. I was so eager that when I added in my sequins, some of it went behind my little sun. I added some of the sequins on top of the sun. I took the release paper off the foam tape and then set my panel down. It's really quite simple. I'm embellishing the front of the card now using some of the sequins that's inside the shaker, as well as my little bumblebee. I've stuck down my strip of pattern paper on the inside, and now all I need to do is add my stamped sentiment, and this is from the Christina Griffiths Versus collections. I love this happy birthday sentiment. I think it's lovely. I'm using some ink from my stash to stamp that down in a lovely pink color. And there we go, there's our shaker card. I just love this. And now we're moving on to card number 6. This card is a book card, easel card. It's kind of a mouthful, but we have a piece of 12 by 6 card and I've scored it at 3 and at 6. We want to fold it into a mountain fold and then again another mountain fold, and this gives us our easel card base. Onto that then I have some mats and layers I want to put onto that. This green piece measures 6 by 6, and on top of that I have this beautiful floral patterned paper, and this piece measures 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. I have scored this at 2 7/8, and then on the back on the score line I've put some 1/4 inch double-sided tape, and on the edges on the right and left I've put some slim foam tape, and it's just one layer. On top of that then I will put this white piece, and it measures 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. I've scored it at 2 5/8, and then again I have put some 1/4 inch double-sided tape down the score line on the back and some thin foam tape on the either side, the left and the right. I've stamped my sentiment already, and I've stamped around it using that lovely stars and dots stamp that we made our pattern paper from with previously. I've also stamped this piece, which measures 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. It's going inside, and I'm going to add my stopper. This piece, there's 3 layers to it, and you can see all the measurements there on the screen, and it's 5 3/4 in length, and then they're an inch thick, 3/4 of an inch thick, and 1/4 of an inch thick. And then onto that I will add some of the lovely peel-offs to that to embellish it. This piece that measures 2 3/4 by 5 3/4 is going to sit on the back of our front piece there. I just thought it would pick up the green on the front panel of the easel card. And then I have some lovely ephemera, this little cake. I've put some foam tape onto the back of this. This will sit across from our happy birthday sentiment. And I'm going to use the rainbow there with our lovely unicorn cake, and the unicorn, the puffy unicorn sticker, I'm going to put that beside the Make a Wish sentiment that's inside our card. Okay, so now let's start assembling all our bits and pieces together. First, I'm going to add on my little puffy sticker to my white panel. And these are lovely. They have flat, round, iridescent circles inside these puffy stickers. So they're like little mini shakers in effect. They're so cute. So now I'm going to add my green panel onto my card base. Then I'm going to add my patterned paper onto my large green panel. And I'm just taking off all the release paper. And I'm going to put that down so it's got a nice even border all around. I'm going to add my little unicorn cake onto my white panel, and then again I'll line it up with the score line on the pattern paper behind it. Once I have that down, then I can take the release paper off our foam tape. Now with Docrafts cards you actually curve these panels, but I liked them just lying flat. Okay, so now we're going to add our large panel to our easel card base, and you can see there I'm just adding liquid glue to below the score line, and that then will allow our large panel to stand, and then our stopper will hold our panel in place once our card is open, and you can put it as high up or low down as you like, and then we'll be able to write on that panel inside, and people won't see it because it'll be hidden by our stand-up easel piece. And there we go, that is card 6. All I need to do is embellish it, and to do that I'm adding one of my yellow see-through sparkly peel-offs to that. I'm going to take 2 of those peel-offs then and add them to our pink layer that's on our stopper piece. And again, I've zoomed in there so you can see exactly what I'm doing with those straight edge peel-offs, and it just brings a little bit of sparkle to that. I love these peel-offs, they're great for embellishing a card. So I'm just using my bone folder to add a little bit of pressure to make sure those peel-offs stick down nicely. And there we go, that's card number 6, our easel Docrafts card, all nice and beautiful looking. For card 7, we're going to make a slimline card, and my slimline card bases are for to fit in the slimline envelopes I have. So this card base will measure 8 by 8¼ and then in the middle at the 8" I've scored at 4. I want a panel for inside as well as for the outside. I'm just going to burnish that edge so that my card sits nicely. So I've taken 2 pieces of pattern paper. One measures 6 inches in length and the other measures 2 inches in length. And you can see I've joined them on the back here with some sticky tape. They're 3 3/4 in width and 8 inches in length. And the 2 of them will sit nicely there. This panel is the same. It's 3 3/4 by 8, and that'll go inside our card. I've taken some of this pattern paper and I've cut off a strip of those lovely drink cups. I know there's a name for them and I can't think of it. And what I've done is I fussy cut around the top of these cups. I want to add that panel to the bottom of our inside panel. So once I have that stuck down, I can then cut off the excess. So that is how the inside of our card will look. And you can see there I have my sentiment stamped in yellow already to match our card base. This yellow strip measures 3 3/4 by 1 inch, and it is going to hide where our pattern paper is joined. And then I have this sentiment little banner piece that I cut apart from the cut apart sheet. I have 2 of the ephemera drinks cups, and they have foam tape on the back, as well as this little heart, and she has foam tape on the back of her as well. I also have cut out these 2 pieces. My yellow piece measures 2 by 6, and my pattern paper measures 1 3/4 by 5 3/4. I've rounded off the edge of both of these pieces, and they're going to be my bookmark. I'm going to put my bookmark inside my card here. So I want a little pocket for it to sit into. This piece measures 3 3/4 by 2 inches, and I've put some thin, slim, double-sided tape around the 3 sides of this I've also taken one of our lovely paper clips. We get 3 different paper clips. I've left it on the acetate it comes on, and I have cut it so it's a little bit longer. I've folded it in half and put some double-sided tape on it because I want my acetate to stick to the back of my pattern paper. So it'll hold my paper clip in place, and I'll use a little glue dot then behind this acetate that the paper clip is on, just to keep it set on my bookmark. Okay, so I've sped everything up now. I'm taking the release paper off my little pocket for the inside. I'm going to add down our little strip of our cups. I'll stick that down to our white panel where we have our sentiment. And once that's all glued down in place, we'll be able to trim off the excess on the left and the right. And I like to do that from the back. It's easier to follow and cut it straight. Lovely. Now we'll add some liquid glue to this panel, and then we'll stick that down inside our card. Great. Now we'll stick down our little piece of acetate with our paper clip to the back of our pattern paper, and then we can stick that down onto our yellow panel. So again, I'll use some liquid glue to stick that down, and you can use double-sided tape or whatever you prefer to use yourself. I've rolled up a little glue dot and I'm sticking that behind the acetate just to keep my little paper clip in place. I'm punching out a hole at the top, and I'm going to add some of our lovely colourful string to the top of that. And there we go, that is our card, literally finished. We just need to embellish it with some of our sequins and some of our little sparkle dot peel-offs that we got. And I'm going to add the tiniest little sparkle dot peel-offs to the dots on the front of our cup, and then I'll add some to the little cheeks on our love heart as well. And there we go, our Slimline happy birthday card full of sparkle, and it really makes me smile, especially with our little bookmark inside. Card 8 is such a cute card. We're going to do this using a 6x6 card base. We have a piece of pattern paper measuring 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. We have this green strip, it measured 5 3/4 by about 1 3/4, and I just cut this hillside look to the top of it. We have some ephemera pieces, these cute little boy and girl unicorns on their skates with their hula hoops. I put some foam tape behind that. I have an offcut of the strip of the pattern paper. I've die cut out a happy birthday, and I've put an action wobbler behind my radio, my rainbow radio. I'm going to glue down my green strip straight onto the pattern paper. We'll release then the foam tape on the back of our hula hoop little guy, and we'll stick him down there at the top of our little hill. And then our little girl on her roller skates, she's just roller skated down that hill, down to the bottom there. That's what's going on in my head. So she's down there. We're going to put the birthday. Now, I didn't die cut out a happy because our pattern paper just has happy, 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 happy all over it. We'll put down our action wobbler up here. It's like a cloud up there with the music. And then we'll add our strip. Again, this is just a 1/4 inch strip of the pattern paper that was left over to embellish the bottom. I'm going to stamp down the Make-A-Wish in some blue ink. I then decided I was going to take this ephemera piece. I thought it was so cute. And I'm going to add that on the inside, just there along where our happy birthday pattern paper is. I'm going to take the lovely sparkly stamp that we got, and I'm going to stamp that twice in the green, and I'm going to stamp it twice in a lovely orange. And I really love this card. I love them all. I think the color palette of this kit is just so joyful and lovely, especially for February. That's when I'm doing that here. And I have to say it's wintry and miserable outside my craft room. So there we go. We have our little action wobbler there on our card, and it's just so cute. I love it. For card number 9, I'm going to again use one of my 6x6 scalloped card bases. You can make a regular one yourself if you don't have these, but I will leave links to everything I can down below. I'm just burnishing the crease there so it folds nicely. I have a couple of panels here that I have for the front of our card. I loved the ice creams, but I went with the polka dots. This panel measures 5 1/4 by 5 1/4, and I've put 2 straight pink metallic peel-offs on this panel. It's going to sit on this yellow piece, which measures 5 1/2 by 5 1/2, and they'll sit on the front of our card nicely like so. I then have taken one of the cutter parts of this unicorn and I've added it onto this yellow piece. It measures 4 by 4 and my cutter part roughly measures about 3 by 4 as well. I've put 2 of the peel-offs on that, and then I've stamped this Make-A-Wish on this little panel here as well, and it's going to go over the sentiment that's on the cutter part. I wanted this to be more of a birthday card, so that's what I've done there. I'm going to take 2 of the star ephemera pieces. I put some foam tape behind them and they're going to stick down then either side of our Make-A-Wish. Okay, so I have my passion paper stuck down already onto my yellow card. I'm going to then stick that down onto my card base, and I'm not adding any dimension to this panel. I'm going to glue that straight down as well. The dimension will come with the stars that we have on the front. I'll add my strip across where the sentiment is under the unicorn, and then take the release paper off my little stars and I'll cover up where the yellow panel there joins the yellow panel on the back of our unicorn. Once that's done, I'm going to take some of our circular peel-offs and I'm going to put some randomly around the polka dots on our larger panel and a couple of the smaller ones over the little stars around the unicorn. I've taken this offcut strip and I have glued that down to the inside, and then using my Misty, I've stamped "It's Your Birthday" inside. I didn't want to go through all that effort and then the stamping not, end up nice. I put a little sticker then again on the inside, and there you go. That's card number 9. Finally, card 10 is again going to be a slimline card. The card base measures 8 by 8 1/4, and again I've scored it at 4 on the 8-inch side. I have a panel here and this piece measures 3 3/4 by 8 inches, and I'm going to stamp on this panel with our lovely little sparkly stamp that we got in the kit. And I've picked out this kind of a lavender color. It's a little bit darker than our panel. I've taken 3 of these little cut aparts with sentiments, but I used the puffy stickers to put my own sentiment. So I have "Happy Birthday to You," and the letters on the puffy stickers, you can have them as wide or as tight as you like. And I have some ephemera then that I'm going to put on that as well. So I'm using my stamp and I have it set down on some copy paper. That way I can stamp off the edge of my panel. So it looks as if I cut this panel from a larger size. And it always gives it looks nicer to the eye when you do that. It looks more natural to the eye and the eye picks up on these things. So once I have my stamped image all down, I can then add that on to our card base. So I'll use some liquid glue to stick that down. And once that's down, then I can add my sentiment panels, those fish-tailed banners, as well as our ephemera and sticker pieces. So I'm going to trim off these "Happy Birthday to You" little pieces. They're too long, but I didn't want to do that until I knew exactly where I was putting everything. Because the unicorn is the biggest of the three, I want to make sure that I have that panel down first so I can have my little unicorn just sitting above the birthday sentiment. It's like as if he's jumping over it. I've some foam tape behind him so it gives him a little bit of dimension. So I wasn't sure if I was going to put the sun up there, but I went with the rainbow. I just thought it looked cuter. So before I position it down, I'm just looking at what angle I want that on. I'm going to trim off a little bit of excess on that banner, and then I can stick that down and then pop my little rainbow on over it. And again, these puffy stickers are so cute with the little shaker pieces inside. And then it's just the To You banner. So once we have that down, then I'm going to take the shaker cup, the drinks cup there, and I'll pop that down over the end of that. Lovely. So now I'm going to embellish the front of that using, again, our peel off circles, and I'm going to randomly put some all around the front of the card, making sure to put down an uneven number. Once I've that done, then I can stamp my sentiment inside, and I'm going to use the sentiment that I used in an earlier card, the Christina Griffiths one, the Happy Birthday to You. I've done that in the same color that I stamped our front panel, and then I'm going to take some pink, this is PLUM JAM ink, and I'm going to stamp it twice with our sparkly image. So the image is on the front as well as the outside. Now I had a little smear there, you wouldn't really see it, but I'm going to cover it up using some of the peel offs on the inside. And there you go, that's card number 10. Whew, we've got through it all, and what a wonderful kit. I really, really enjoy this kit. It's so sunny. The images are so lovely. I think they're great kids' birthday cards. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you liked it, you might consider giving my video a thumbs up. And if you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing. If not, you might click on the bell icon down below. When you do those things, YouTube, the little bots in YouTube realizes that you are interacting with this, and it just helps to boost my channel. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. And until next time, folks, thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.